really on Coach Burt's Monday call that he has for his monster producer program. And it really resonated because it really applies to what we're talking about this month around our model, our business model. So I want to share my notes from Coach's call today because it was really, really powerful. And it really, really resonated. So he opened up the conversation, and I got to go look. I'm sure I have this book. You know, Coach Burt is a Dan Sullivan disciple as well. And I think what you'll find the more you study entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, those that are leading the organizations out there today that are really making a difference have gone through or been a part of Dan Sullivan's program in some capacity. My buddy Nick Nanton, for those of you that know, Nick was the one that really pushed me to get into Dan's program, and then Who Not How came out, and I was like, I'm in, and part of Strategic Coach. And so there was a book that Coach Burt was talking about today is How the Best Get Better. And one thing that you guys understand with Dan Sullivan is that he writes a book every quarter. Every quarter, a new book comes out, but it doesn't go out to the public. He's only got 2 public-facing books, and that's Who Not How and The Gap in the Gain, which if you haven't gone through either one of those, you need to go through both of those. If you haven't gone through The Gap in the Gain in probably the last 6 months, I would tell you to go through The Gap in the Gain like right now. But he was talking about how the best get better. And what Dan Sullivan talks about in there is that there's 3 things that the problems that people have. And he said the number one thing is confusion. People are confused. And we've talked about that before, right? Lost, insecure, what the hell do I do? So it's confusion. The other is isolation. People feel isolated. Sometimes it's self-inflicted. Sometimes they put themselves on that island, but there's isolation. And then the third thing is they feel powerlessness, right? They don't feel like they have any power. They're just kind of almost like, what can I do, right? There's nothing I can do. And what Coach talks about is that our businesses have to solve those things for our clients. We have to give them clarity, which is direction. And so I'm sharing this with all of you guys in the context of how we're shaping our business model. We have our vision. What is the model that's going to allow us to create, deliver, capture value, and then monetize that value to be able to be the fuel in our engine of our business in pursuit of the vision, bigger picture. So confusion, we solve confusion with direction and leadership. Isolation, we get people out of isolation by helping them form new relationships. How many of you on here that have been a part of Kitchen Table maybe felt isolated before you got into that community? And how has those relationships in that community changed? Sam was independent. He was up on an island. He can speak to this all day long. And so you got to think, people are out there, they feel they're on an island. And remember, we're feeling creatures. Feelings drive how we behave. And how we behave, determines the results that we get. So we solve the isolation through relationships. And the feeling of powerlessness is where the creativity comes in. And understanding, and I want you guys all to understand this, is that this is a creative world. You get to design and create this world however you want it to be. Live the life you want. And so that helps overcome that powerlessness. But you have to be the example, right? The king, the queen eats first. The oxygen mask. You have to be what you need to be in showing up for the people that are looking to you for the leadership, for the relationships, for the creativity. And so that really, really resonated. And so what Coach tied to this is that those 3 solutions. So think about your business model, the value that you create, the problems you solve, the promises you want to make, and more important, the promise you can keep has to solve that. And he said, those 3 solutions are critical to differentiate yourself in a very, very noisy marketplace. You guys all know how noisy it is out there. But if you're not providing leadership, if you're not focused on building relationships, and if you're not helping people be more creative, and not feeling, they're feeling powerful because they have that creative ability, you will solve problems that will differentiate yourself. And that's what keeps people gravitating and continuing to come back to you. There was one other thing that he hit on, and this kind of comes back to when you look at the 8 areas of the exponential growth kind of strategy, you go through my growth score. One of them on there is impact alignment. And so I want you guys to how all of this ties together. And what we talked about last Monday is that model is not, if you look at model, it's not one of the 8. However, model bleeds over into everything. And he asked these questions. He got somebody to play all out on the call today. But he said, let me ask you these 4 questions. And so I want you guys to think about this as we're building and designing and creating the business model that we want in support of what we're trying to accomplish. And this also comes back down to understanding what your unique ability is, what you are the best in the world at. And so the number 1 question is, what do you love doing that brings you energy? What do you love doing that doesn't drain you of energy? That's the first question. What do you love doing? The second question is, what are you really good at doing? The third question is, how can you monetize it at the highest level? Remember, we solve problems. That's when money exchanges hands. You can solve, like what Coach Burr says, you can solve little baby bluegill problems, or you can solve some big marlin problems. What's going to pay you more? So how does your model monetize and solve the biggest problems at the highest level? And then the fourth question, this is probably the most important. What are you supposed to be doing? Like internally in your gut, you lay in bed at night knowing that you are fulfilled. You are doing what you're supposed to be doing. And so when you're looking at your model, and then this also comes down to the people equation too, right? As we're looking for the people that are going to support the plan within the model, are you doing what you need to be doing? Are you doing what you love? Are you really good at what you're doing? Are you monetizing it at the highest level? And is this supposed to be what you're doing?